What is up, guys? We have now officially seen the championship schedule for Worlds. So I'm going to kind of talk about what um, I think this information means, what I think could happen slash will happen, and we'll go from there. So if you guys are not numbers people or not stats people, you guys can feel free to leave because this is going to be just me nerding out a little bit about the research that I've done over the weekend in regards to Worlds Day 1, Day 2, all that, etc., etc. So the schedule is officially out, which has given us a little bit of information. So if you are a competitor, from 5 to 8 p.m. on Wednesday will be our welcome kit pickup and our check-in. Now, this is something I think we have to do regardless. If I think Day 2 players can do it whenever on Thursday, but I would advise just getting it out of the way on Wednesday unless you're flying in on Thursday. I think if you're a Day 1 player coming in Thursday morning, you are eligible to like email them ahead of time and let them know that you could be late or something. And then if you are a Day 1 player, keep in mind your deck lists are due on that 8 p.m. on Wednesday. So you submit and then you chill until your tournament, basically, which you get like a full 12, 13, 14 hours to chill and vibe and then freak out if you are freaking out. Thursday, 8 a.m., doors will open. I assume there will be a bag check and everything, so please prepare accordingly. I'm usually there at doors open because I'm someone who really cares about the opening ceremony. That is something that's very important to me. So I am usually there trying to find a good seat for the opening ceremony. If you are not there by the time, probably I would say like 30 minutes before the opening ceremony, you will probably end up with a either poor seat or one that is like towards the back of the hall or something of that nature. Like you will not get something that's in like prime real estate. Basically, I would be even go as far to say as like if you're not in the first like 15 minutes entering the hall, you're probably a little bit screwed there. So if you're someone who like cares about the opening ceremony, getting close. I mean, there's gonna be screens everywhere, and you'll see the monitors or whatever that are showing what's happening. It's just a different thing being up close, and it's just this is like my Super Bowl. So this is like, yeah, this is like what everything like Kid Rahul ever wanted. 9:45, you guys will start playing. A lunch break will occur, and they're estimating that it'll go until about these times for these players. So with Day 1, the way it's going to work is you got to go X2 to move on, which means that if you tie round 1, you probably want to tie 2 more times somewhere down the line. But at that point, after that singular tie, every tie afterwards is a loss. Or not tie, every loss at that point is just a loss. But if you lose round 1, a tie past that is a loss effectively for you. So you cannot get more than 2 combination of lost ties, unless it's 3 ties, of course. So pick accordingly for your deck. And I'll come back to this and talk about what it means in a second. Doors open on Friday, August 19th. Round 1 pairings are posted with the 2 players. You are eligible to switch decks between Day 1 and Day 2 if you qualify accordingly. Up to 9 rounds of Swiss. Records equal to 8th place at the end of Swiss will advance to top cut. We'll come back and talk about this as well because this is huge. A lunch break will occur. And they have estimated times allotted here. And then Saturday is doors open. Players are seated. Single elimination top cut will be played until 2 remain. No playing top cut. And then they plan to finish junior seniors here. Masters division here. Now, I'll talk about what I think these time frames mean and like a few hypotheticals that are in my mind. So yeah, let's go back up to Day 1. Now, what I think is so Day 1 typically they're allowed to pick as many rounds as they want, as many or as little rounds as they want to see how many people they want to push through. So the question is, do they want to trigger this 9th round of Swiss? And they don't say anything about a +5. But I did all my math according to potentially being a +5, like a 9 rounds +5 Swiss, playing kind of like our regionals, which you need 227 players to kick off, whereas the 9th round, you just need that 200th player to kick off. There's no doubt in my mind we'll be playing 8 rounds at the minimum on Day 2, because I think there is already 150, there's about 90-something players that are auto-qualified from the 4 major regions. And Japan has about 48 representatives, not including age-ups, so we can round up to about 60 that are auto Day 2. Now with Singapore and all these like APAC countries sending 1 or 2 representatives apiece, we have like about 170 to 180 already. I would say 170, like 170 players already qualified for the Day 2 of the World Championships. So the question is, how many people does Pokemon want to let through Day 1? Now, we have roughly 400-ish, maybe 450 in day one. If everyone shows up, which I don't think they will, I think we'll have probably a 20% no-show rate, maybe a little bit higher, because for some of these countries, getting over there is a little bit difficult. I know if you're in LATAM, if you're in Oceania, if you're in like the Asia-Pacific region, Japan, all those regions, it's a little bit more pricey for you guys to travel over here to London specifically. So might be a little bit not worth it for some of these day one players to shill out like $3,000 or something. I think I was talking to one of the Japanese players, and he was telling me that their cost of travel, like flight, just flight was like $3,500. So a little bit absurd for Worlds, obviously. I mean, right now the world is in a weird place. So if they do 7 rounds, that means that about 22 to 23% of the field will move through, which means of that number, we'll see about 80 to 90 players come through. If it's 450, like I anticipated. If it is 350, it'll be like 70 players that move through if it's 7 rounds. 8 rounds, which would be the more traditional, so that would not be Swiss -1, that would just be the regular Swiss rounds. If they did 8 rounds, we would see probably, I don't know, like 30, 35 players move through, which is brutal, yes, but that's what will happen. And so if it's 30, 35 players, we are now adding that to our 170 existing, if assuming everyone shows up, which I don't, again, think even in day 2 players will not show up because they're not, like some of these countries are not awarding trips, and some of these countries, and we've already been paid out ahead of time. So if you're a player who, like, I don't know, does not actually care about Worlds, or like got aged up midway through the season and has not touched Pokemon cards since, like you just got paid your like $3.5 to $5,000. You don't have to show up and waste it, you know, if this is like something that no longer interests you. And I'm sure there are players like that. I know at least 2 that are not going to be here that are in day 2. So that being said, we can either trigger that 9th round with the 200 plus barely, or if we push past that 227, that potential +5 opens up as well. But I think it'd be weird to do 9 + 5 due to logistical reasons, because, and I'll explain here based on what I see in the timings. So records equal to 8th place at the end of Swiss will advance to top cut is huge. What that means is if 8th, 9th, 10th, so if 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th all have the same record as at 8th, we will then play 8 versus 9, 7 versus 10, 6 versus 11, 5 versus 12 to determine those spots. It doesn't matter if you're X2 or like X1, sorry, like you could be at 5th and be, I don't know, 7-1, let's say for record, or like 8-1. It does not matter. You have to play that game out because that is how asymmetric cut works. And so that is a fair way to determine that there will be no bubble at the World Championships. This is something that I think a lot of players have wanted for quite a long time. I'm not entirely sure that how it'll work for Pokemon or how it'll be received, but bubbling Worlds at a like 6-1-1 record or like a 5-1-1 record is kind of unacceptable in my opinion. So I'm very happy this is happening. Obviously, I don't know how it will actually affect the tournament. It is the first year we're doing it, besides the Open that one year. So we'll see. Okay, anyway. Top Cut. Look at this 5-hour time gap between Masters and Juniors. This indicates one of 2 things to me. Either we sit down, I think like in the morning they were saying like we're playing the player asymmetric cut game in the morning before cut starts. Either we're playing top 8 and every single top 8 game is streamed. So top 8, A, B, C, D, which is like 75 minutes a piece with like stuff in between, which would be like 7 hours of stream time, giving us, and then they would do top 4A, top 4B, which is like almost exactly 10 hours on the dot. So 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's about 10 hours. That's like a perfect schedule there for them logistically. And I think it'd be really cool to have every one of the top 8 games streamed. Personally, I think it'd be really cool to see like all these high pressure, high intensity matches where you're now playing for the trophy, you're playing for these things. But logistically, I think the reason the +5 can't happen, or they're going to try to avoid having it happen if it can happen, is that like if we do 5 rounds of Swiss, it's going to be like 2 by the time, with like they give lunch break too, so it'll be like 3, maybe 4 if it's like anything like NAIC. And then we'll have to play top 8s, and I don't know if they'll only want to stream 1 top 8s, which they might just do 1 top 8 and a double top 4, which it's still that point we're getting out at like 9. I remember NAIC, we were there for Isaiah until the very end because he was top 8 or top 4B, and I think we left the venue at like 9:30, getting to dinner by like 10. So I think Pokemon would like to avoid that logistically. So I think this is indicating that all of the top 8 games will be streamed, from my personal opinion. Um, so that being said, um, we're just kind of seeing what happens on day 1 for all the day 2 players. Like, what does this mean for us? Like, how many players are getting pushed through? How many rounds will we actually have on day 2? Will we have a 9+5? Will we just have 9 into top cut? Will there be the asymmetric after the 9+5 even? Like, is that if that happens, like, is that a thing? Is this is it an 8-round Swiss that like they could theoretically do like -1 as well on Friday and be like, hey, we're only going to be playing 8 rounds of Swiss. Here's a cut. Because if we go to 9 rounds with barely hitting 200 players, there's a chance that there's going to be like, I don't know, like down to like 15 7-2 or better, you know, like 8th place could be 7-2, and then we could go all the way down to like 15th, where like 7-2 is the record. And at that point, we're literally just playing a top 16 cut, except for first seed type of thing. And then what happens if we have 17 on the asymmetric with a top 8 cut? Like, that's also another question that I have. So if you guys may know the answers to that, please, like, let me know, because I'm trying to look up information on how it works, especially in the context of the Open or stuff like that. And I haven't been able to find too much, because some of these old archives and websites that used to exist have been, I don't know, yeeted. They're gone. So anyway, this is huge. I'm actually really happy to see this. World's going to be crazy. I'm flying out in 2 weeks, so if you guys have any content you would like me to make before I leave on the 14th, please let me know. That'll be the last day I can be here to make content, and then I'll be gone. And you guys will want big banger of a vlog when I am there. So all that being said, thank you guys for the support. Please, 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 I hope you guys can root for me at the World Championships. And yeah, peace out, guys.